problem is, and why I think they need a veteran coach, somebody with a little bit more of an iron fist, is if you bring in a young, cool, hip head coach, he's going to be buddies with Josh. He's going to suck up to Josh. He's going to go golfing with Josh. It's not what he needs. It's not what's best for his career. What's best for his career is he has somebody that comes in and pushes him every single day, because there is another level that Josh can get to, especially mentally, but he has to be coached hard. And if you bring in a young guy, I just don't see it happening. I see him wanting to be his friend more than his coach. And so we'll see what happens. There aren't a lot of names out there. I don't know where they go with, but that's what I would want to see, is a veteran coach that's going to have accountability, and he's going to be a tough coach on these players.
Ryan Fitzpatrick from the Fitz and Wit podcast. Like that point from Fitz. We'll get Sal Capaccio's thoughts on that as well. Jeremy and Joe, good morning. 803-0550. Welcome in. If you're watching us on the stream, hello. If you're listening on the air, on an app, hello again. What's up? Hey, Sal, how are you?
Good. Good morning, guys. How are you?
Sal, I was thinking about that comment from Fitz, and the one thing I would wonder about, and this is like what Brandon Beane and Josh Allen, like they've got to figure this out, is how different it is to push Josh Allen when he is a lump of clay ready to be molded into the great quarterback he has become, versus pushing the superstar $250 million guy that is one of the faces of the league, MVP. You know, like Brian Dable pushed him when he was a lump of clay and was probably integral in making him bring out the best in him. Is the same voice the right voice in the different scenario? A lot to figure out with this coaching search.
It's a great question. It's actually very interesting you say that, because when I heard that from Fitzpatrick, I asked somebody who has been around Brian Dable and Josh Allen, and I said, which category would Brian fall into? Is he the
right?
Is he the accountability guy, or is he the golfing buddy guy? And the answer was accountability guy.
Yeah.
Now, I agree with you, though. Maybe over time that's changed from a different point of Josh Allen's career. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
But the answer I got was, no, that's not a guy that's going to be Josh's friend. Yes, they have a relationship, but Brian's an accountability guy. And I'm just talking about Brian Dable here, obviously. I'm not even pushing or whatever. I mean, you're asking me specifically him. But, yeah, that's really interesting, because I agree with that. I would also say one thing about Josh that I've always been told is he's very coachable. But I agree, there's different points of coaching and times and how to coach certain ways. I don't think Josh would necessarily, not accept coaching from someone or not accept to get pushed from someone, but certainly there's certain buttons to push along the way. But to answer the question about Brian specifically, I was told he falls more on the accountability side, not on the golf buddy side.
Sal Capaccio with us on the Western Hotline.
Who else falls in the veteran camp of this group, right? Lou Anarumo and guys that could push him. Because if
Anthony Weaver,
Anthony Lynn.
I mean, Anthony Weaver's never been a head coach, though.
Right.
Right? I mean, I know you're right. I mean, I guess looking at the list, who else has, right? You're right, but I mean, is Anthony Weaver in that? I'm not really sure. He's been around a lot, but you know what I mean? I have no idea where I'd put him in that category. But probably, veteran coach, sure, but he'd be getting his first crack at this.
Right. Yeah, that's why I guess the list, Sal, how many guys might be like that. I guess that's why I get to Weaver, is unless it's Dable, the odds that they land on a first-time coach, I think are probably pretty good.
Well, I don't think there's many non-first-time coaches out there right now that you'd –
right.
I mean, there's guys that have been fired, but what's the list even independent of anything we know about the Bills? Right? Who's out there right now that has had a head coaching job that anybody's thinking about any job going forward? Mike McCarthy's probably going to land in Pittsburgh. You want to say him? Mike Tomlin, I don't see that happening, and he's under contract anyway, by the way, with the Pittsburgh Steelers. So, I mean, how many actual former head coaches are actually out there that could get a job somewhere anyway? Maybe some of the guys just fired, like Jonathan Gannon, something like that, I guess. I don't know.
Right. Yeah, there's not, Flores, but some of the guys that are like that, the resume as a head coach isn't really going to be all that strong, right? Flores has made more of a mark as a defensive coordinator since it didn't really work for him in Miami. Although his record wasn't as bad in Miami's, some might remember.
Right.
I don't know. Is there anything we asked you a little bit about this, Sal, after the press conference yesterday? As we start to look at the coach search, was there anything that you heard or picked up from yesterday from either Pegula or Bean that made you lean any way about the type of person they're looking for, or an individual, like anything to pick up on the coach search?
That I think that they're going to have Josh in mind every step of the way. Now, that doesn't mean, again, I think you need to parse what they said and think about how this goes down, which is, it doesn't mean Josh is picking the coach, but they're certainly going to think about coaching Josh Allen and his role in this. And, he's the most important person in the organization, let's be honest, right? So I do think that's part of it. I don't think it has to be, there's nothing I got from which side of the ball, nothing I got from, well, there is one little thing I got, one little tiny, like, a nugget I think that I picked up on that I'm thinking, okay, did he just kind of make it known they're looking for offense? Because Brandon Beane said, this job is more than just a play caller or schemer.
Mm-hmm.
Now, you could take that for defense too, right? But don't we think offense when we think that? You know what I mean? He said it's a CEO job. So when he said that, I thought, oh, are they looking offense specifically? Which I think they would be more inclined to do. But if you're asking me, like, what traits, I'm not positive on, like, what, if they're looking for a certain, like, point of their career, what their experience has been. But I do think it's very clear that they're going to have Josh Allen in mind every step of the way going through this process.
Sal Capaccio joining us on the Western Hotline. Joe Brady interviewing yesterday. Today will be Brian Dable and Lou Anarumo, according to multiple reports. And, Sal, this weekend could change a lot, with Seattle, with the Rams. There are candidates possibly on both those staffs with Denver. And Brandon Beane, one thing he did say was it's a wide open search, right? Fully open search.
Yes.
So I guess it's going to be tough for them. If they land on Joe Brady after a full search, people might get skeptical. And you might get skeptical of that if it's Brian Dable, too. Like, oh, they picked the guy that Josh knows. But to me, the sheer number of candidates already in the mix, it sounds like it really will be an intensive process. And they're not taking it lightly, like just to give it to some foregone, like some guy that's already got the job. Like, I want to take their word that it really will be an open process.
Yeah, I agree with that. I mean, I think, to me, like, it's always felt a bit weird if they were to give it to Joe Brady, considering he's on this staff and has been a part of this staff that's had these playoff failures that Terry Pegula talked about, right? Like, I think one of the headlines that came out of yesterday, and this happens, right, because it's the internet and this is how people write things and they see different headlines. Terry Pegula did not fire Sean McDermott because they lost in Denver. He decided and ultimately made the decision after they lost in Denver. He fired him because of the proverbial playoff wall that he said, right? You know what I mean? There's a difference there. The decision was ultimately made after Denver, but it was made because of the playoff failures. I find it hard to believe that then they would go and hire somebody internally who's been a part of those playoff failures, because to me, you're still there's no difference in the people in the room, right? And then if you're trying to change that outcome because you've seen these things happen, then I would always think that you would want to go in a bit of a different direction to get a fresh blood or perspective. Lorenzo Alexander said this to me one time. He said, the drought teams, they were bonded in 2017. The guys in the early part of McDermott's career, they were bonded by breaking the drought. That was a really special thing. That really carried them a long way. Once this 13 seconds happened, this team has been, as we know, kind of in a bad way bonded by that. Every time you look up, it's always mentioned to them and all those kinds of things. And I think, like, to me, you almost have to go completely different than that. Now, Brian Dable was also there, but he left and he came back. I think Brian is a little bit unique in this whole thing. But I do think that Joe Brady would be a bit surprising to me, only because you'd still be putting someone in charge who's been a part of the reason why you're saying you're moving on, if that makes sense.
Sal Capaccio on the Worcester Hotline. Sal, I know you got to get to WBEN.
Yeah,
but
that's right.
What are you ready for next? We don't expect to hear from Josh. I saw reports the expectation is he'll speak after the coaching search is complete. So he's kind of taken some time away, and there's a little bit of there's a report that a source close to Allen says he's appreciative of his time, which is, not much. But, I guess the loss of the season, the loss of your coach as he's been fired, it's probably been a tough week for Josh.
Well, I'm sure it has been, and I wouldn't expect different to finally hear something that he's backing the organization and he's all on board with their search. We'll see about when he's going to speak. Again, there's no requirement he has to, but we always hear from him after a season. So I'm sure we're going to at some point here, but it's probably not going to be, it feels like, it looks like, I should say, until after they hire a head coach.
All right. Sal Capaccio. Thank you, Sal.
All right, you got it, guys. Thanks.
We'll keep Sal on speed dial because, this coaching search thing, it could happen quickly. I don't think it will. You just never know. They get like three interviews in and cancel all other interviews. We've got our guy. This is the right person. Like, that happens, right?
It does. Unless we really believe they want to talk to guys that are still coaching.
Oh, I think it definitely goes through the weekend.
Oh, no, I mean like through the Super Bowl.
Yeah, if the Super Bowl somehow ends up being Denver-Seattle, that gets tough. Like, if your top candidates you want to speak to are Davis Webb and Clint Kubiak, and you've now got to wait till February 9th, that's tough.
I guess Kubiak's the one I'm wondering the most. Because I also don't really think Denver will win. So if they want to talk to Davis Webb, like, the odds of that happening on Monday are probably decent.
Right. They're the biggest home underdog in conference championship history.
There you go. So, but if Kubiak is a guy they really like, will they feel comfortable making a call before they're allowed to talk to him? And will they be willing to wait 3 weeks? I will say...
Will the candidates wait?
Will the candidates
and not
wait?
Get on staffs?
How many candidates... I guess there are... How many openings are there still? 4 or 5, at least?
Yep.
Like, will Dable wait for you? He's not getting a head coach job somewhere else.
No,
I don't think.
Tennessee looks like it's his if he wants it.
But that's the coordinator job.
Yeah.
So...
And... to this point, like, Vic Carucci tweeted yesterday, he'd not be surprised if it was Joe Brady head coach, Brian Dable offensive coordinator. Diane Racine reports Dable wants the head coach job, and I just wonder, like, is he coming back just to be the OC?
I can't believe that.
And boy, I mean, is he coming back to be the OC? In that case, what's their offense look like? Does it look like a Brady offense or a Dable offense?
Right.
I don't know.
It's not built the way that it was when Dable was last the offensive coordinator. Pittsburgh has a vacancy right now. Vegas has a vacancy. Cleveland, the Bills, of course, and Baltimore.
The latest out of Pittsburgh I saw was that Chris Shula, the Rams defensive coordinator, is the leader in the clubhouse.
Right.
So if the Rams win, like, they're going to wait too.
Right. So if they interview somebody and they really like them and they feel like, man, if we don't do this now, we're going to lose them.
Meanwhile, like, the college football landscape's like, what do you mean you don't just leave the team in the playoffs to go be that coach?
Right. Right, Kubiak would just for college. Kubiak would just leave.
See you later.
He'd already be gone.
I got a job.
Yeah.
803-0550. Jeremy and Joe, you can give us a ring. We're wide open. We'll check in with Paul. Sabres have a big one in Montreal tonight, and they extended one of their new core pieces. That's Josh Doan, 7-year deal for him. Great news for Sabres fans. They've quickly fallen in love with him after just half a season. It's gone great for Josh Doan and Yarmo. His first signature move, right? A big investment from the Sabres' new GM, Yarmo Kekalainen. So we'll chat with Paul and much more. Your phone calls as well here on WGR.